nice summer break from board meetings. I know the staff and the board were happy to excited to get back together again. So thank you all for being here. First thing is, board members, if you'd record your attendance, please. Okay, we have everyone's marked present. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd like to ask Deputy Guy Whitley and Deputy Eddie Koutros if they'd please come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you'd remain standing for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right, the next item we have is items of particular public interest, our public comment time. We have this evening one speaker, Mr. Gary Graham. Mr. Graham, if you'd please come forward and state what you're going to speak about and your address, and we'll get started.
Thank you. Welcome, school board and new superintendent. First start is the start date of school is on a Friday. The last weekend before the kids have to go back to school. I don't understand why you have to ruin the last weekend of the summer. It's bad enough they miss part of the summer as it is. But to me, that doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense to the kids. Now that we're starting school in some of the hottest months. Here it is today, it was 96 degrees. You put kids on the bus. The temperature in that bus is probably over 100 degrees. It's sad. You take them out of a nice cold school building and you put them in a hot school bus. Maybe you guys have never rode in a school bus. I have. And they are hot. And that's been years and years ago. And now we're in the hottest month of the year. And you're talking to maybe a 25 to 30 degree difference. They've been in school all day, young children. I don't think it's right. It's borderline child abuse. They talked about it on TV up in Nashville. Some of their school bus drivers had to stop because they had heat exhaustion. Our bus drivers probably aren't any different. So I think you need to take these things in consideration. Think of the young children and older children. They have windows down, but you know how many of you ride around in the summertime with your kids with the windows rolled up and the air conditioner off? None of you. Or even the windows down. Very few. And the second question is, we have 10 national holidays. One of them, two of them are important. Veterans Day and Memorial Day. This year, we're only school district around the whole area that's not going to be in school on Veterans Day. Franklin Special School District, they're off. Actually, they're young kids in the grade schools marching the parade. We have hundreds of ROTC kids in our high schools that march in that parade. Maybe some of you don't go to the parade, but I do. It's great to see these young kids marching, carrying the American flag. If it wasn't for the brave men and women who have served, we wouldn't be sitting here. It's a very special day. And I think at least Franklin Special School District realizes that their young kids are learning something that day about America. I just don't think it's right. I think it's un-American to not have the day off. And if you look up in Google, national holidays, it's a day off for federal employees, public employees, and it also mentions schools. And you're one of the school, I don't know of another school district, I did research, in this whole area that has school that day, all the rest of them have it all. I don't think that's right. You can still change it. Things aren't set in stone. I don't care if it was a year ago this was proposed. You can all do that. I was here 2 years ago on this same thing, Veterans Day, and they had a different school board president at the time. Maybe it was 3 years ago, I'm not sure. And they said it wouldn't happen again, but
Okay.
I guess it goes in one ear and out the other.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Your time is up.
Sir, there's 30 minutes allotted, and I'm the only speaker. So please don't cut me off if I'm not done, okay? I think that's disrespectful.
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but we typically allow 3 minutes, and you've gone over the 3-minute time limit. So if you would wrap it up, we'd appreciate it.
I realize you don't like what you're hearing, so you want to cut me off. That's fine. I'm a taxpayer here, too. I have the right to speak. There's 30 minutes allotted for the public. There's not another speaker here. And you want to have it go that called 3-minute thing. I'm sorry. I just hope you do the right thing and put Veterans Day on the calendar this year. You have time to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda? We have a motion to approve from Mr. Welch. We have a second from Mr. Hall. Any discussion, comments, questions? I see none. Is it a voice vote on the machine? Okay. Go ahead and record your votes then, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the approval of the consent agenda. Does anyone like to make a motion on the consent agenda items? We have a motion from Ms. Garrett. I'd like to second that. Second from Ms. Durham. Any discussion on the consent agenda items? Okay. I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes then, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is the communications to the Board, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is my first official board meeting report to the board. I've done it here and there, filling in as interim and at other times, but I'm a little excited about this new school year. From everything I've heard, it's been one of the smoothest starts we've ever had. Now, the reality is this is the time where administrators and transportation staff are making sure that all the students are on the right bus. Kindergarten had its first full day today. And you know, those of you who spent time in elementary school, and I think we all have, whether as students or otherwise, can think back to that time. I know it was an exciting day, especially at the elementary schools. We have a lot to celebrate. Carol Birdsong is going to talk about our students and staff and give some details about that after I finish. But I wanted to reemphasize at this meeting that we had 28 reward schools this year, 28. That's the highest we've ever had, and that's incredibly exciting. And we, as a district, were also named an exemplary school district because of that effort that we had at our particular school. So that's very exciting. I also want to mention to you that Leslie Holman actually finished her work on last year's PTO and Booster Club support numbers and just sent those to us. We received total donations last year from our groups, from our booster groups, $10.1 million. 10.1. That's a 7.2% increase over last year, and I want to give you some perspective on that. We had a 2.9% increase in our student population over last year. So our boosters have stepped up even more. Our PTOs have stepped up even more. We could not do what we do without the support of our parents. So I want you all to be aware of that. A little over 10.1 million. I've rounded down, just so you know. And so we can give you the exact number a little bit later. Incredible to see that. But there are two school support organizations that are actually not even on that list in those numbers. One of them is the new Catalyst Network, Inc., which is the new organization that is supporting our EIC, our Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center, that's located at Franklin High School. And they're really just getting started with some really grand plans for supporting that new work for our students who have that entrepreneurial spirit. Another entity is the Williamson County Education Foundation, and their numbers are not even included in that PTO booster group support. And I wanted to ask Matt McGallanese to step up. Matt is the chairman of the board of the Williamson County Education Foundation, and they've been working over the summer to create some grants, art-based grants to some of our teachers. And I wanted to make sure that the public knew some of the work that they're doing and that they've been doing quite quietly over the last few years. It's making a difference for our teachers. So, Matt?
Thank you very much for letting me say a few words. I do bear with me a few gifts that I'll leave behind. These are checks to teachers in our school systems. The Education Foundation for Williamson County supports Franklin Special School District and Williamson County schools, and our mission is to provide philanthropic support and to build public awareness and support for public education. And over the last 6 years or so, we've developed about $300 million or $300,000 in gifts to schools, generated by donors who believe in public education as much as we do. And the most recent program we have is a grants program to fund arts teachers and just give them a little extra pocket money to fill needs in the classroom for things they might need. And our focus was on maybe helping them do something new and innovative. And we were just so excited by the grant applications. They weren't large. Grants were averaged to be about $500. We had $5,500 for this year's pilot program. It went really well. I think one of the most fun things about it was the things that the teachers had in mind. One that really caught my eye was Mr. Kirby at Independence High School wanted to start a glee club and needed some funds to do that. So that was one we chose. And there was a ceramics program that Mrs. Lee had in Longview that was very interesting. And so it gives her a chance to try something new. And then there was a stained glass program at Summit, and Teacher McCauley at Woodland had a large band instrument project. So just some examples. And we think the best thing about the program is really just showing some love. Teachers give a great deal, and they have a lot of heart, and they want to build these art programs so more kids can participate. So this is also just a modest gesture from the community to show them that we care about teachers and schools. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Again, we have great support from our community, and I really do appreciate that. Next thing I wanted to mention is that I am continuing my process of spending time with parents, trying to learn from them where they see ways for us to improve and some suggestions. And so we actually have three activities scheduled. Tomorrow at 11:30, we're going to do another Facebook Live. And so I do want to encourage parents to ask questions, type it out on your Facebook. And my wife is capable of typing it out on Facebook. I'm not sure I am. But we do want to answer all those questions as they come. And if we don't have time to answer every question, we're going to make sure we do. The next time we will meet is actually a physical meeting on September 5th at 6 p.m. at Centennial's auditorium at their Performing Arts Center. Then we're going to have another Facebook Live on September 12th at 11:30 as well. The nice thing about those Facebook Lives is they will be accessible on demand so that families, parents can go back and look. And I will tell you, those of you who spent some time, and I think all of you as board members did at one time or another, spend some time over the spring and summer with me. We had a lot of attention and viewers when we did the Facebook Lives, when we did the social media. And one thing that emphasized to us that we really kind of already knew is our parents are busy. It's tough for them to get to particular events that we schedule if it's not related to their children. So we're going to try to make it an emphasis to spend time on those social media platforms so that we can hear from them a little bit better than we have in the past. So with all that said, Mr. Chair, I am anxious to get to the next item, the student spotlight. Carol Birdsong.
We have a lot going on. So, we have a lot of folks to celebrate this evening on our first school board meeting of the 2019-20 school year. So, we are going to start with the middle school. This is Natalie Porter from Woodland Middle School, and Natalie won first place in dramatic interpretation at the National Speech and Debate Association tournament over the summer. I believe it is the first time that we have had a national winner at the middle school level, so congratulations to her. The next thing that we're going to do is celebrate our perfect ACT scores. And so if I could have Dr. Sanders please come forward. Dr. Sanders is from Centennial High School. And we have two students from Centennial who we will be honoring this evening. The first one is Lily Brito. Lily, come on up here. Lily earned a perfect ACT on all 4 tests, I understand. Not the composite, but each test you got a perfect score? She thinks so. That is modesty. It is the truth. Okay. So, Dr. Sanders, if you will give Lily her medal and turn around. Go ahead and smile real big. And Lily, if you'll stay here, and then Lexus Ketseva, come on up, Lexus. Lexus also earned a perfect score. Oops, sorry, medal for you, Lexus. There you go. And you took the test, I believe, in June. Wonderful. Congratulations to our 2 Centennial Perfect ACT students. And then you all can be seated. Dr. Sanders, if you'll come. And if I could have Dr. Patton come up from Independence. And Emma Sauer, come on up, Emma. Emma, correct me if I'm wrong, earned a perfect ACT back in April, and at that time you were a sophomore. Okay, that is correct.
Nice.
All right, congratulations, Emma. Dr. Vaden, if I can have you come forward. Rithika Tamala, come on up, Rithika. And Rithika, you also earned your perfect ACT in April. Okay, everybody wants pictures, so y'all smile big now. And if you'll stay up here, and then if I can have William Fechtel come on up. And William, you earned your perfect ACT in June. So let's get a Ravenwood combo picture here in a minute. All right, congratulations to all of our students with the perfect ACT. Now, if I could ask Lee Webb, Denise Goodwin, and Jason Golden to come forward, we are going to formally honor our schools who have earned the status of being a reward school. As Mr. Golden said, we have 28 reward schools, and we also were named an exemplary district. So, Ms. Goodwin, if you will start, and then principals, once you get your plaque, if you will fill into the well, and for our media friends, we're going to be able to take one of those big group pictures. So, we'll start with Allendale Elementary School and Cindy Davis, who is the principal there. Followed by Jill Justice and Bethesda Elementary. Clovercroft Elementary and Elizabeth Vest. Edmondson Elementary and Trent Satterfield. Fairview Elementary and Tracy Bullard. Heritage Elementary and Shannon Robertson. Lipscomb Elementary and Michelle Contich. Mill Creek Elementary and Julie Sparrow. Nolensville Elementary and Amanda Fuller. Maybe I'm not. Okay. Perry Creek Elementary and Janet Alexandro. Sunset Elementary and Karen Caldwell. Trinity Elementary and Lauren Bauer. Westwood Elementary and Jill Hunt. And Hillsborough K-8 School, Cameron Gish. Our middle schools we're honoring tonight, Brentwood Middle and Brandon Barkley. Fairview Middle and Stacy Batson. Grassland Middle and Kevin Dyson. Heritage Middle and Dana Finch. Mill Creek Middle and Evan Yates. Page Middle and Eric Lipsey. Spring Station Middle and Paula Pulliam. Sunset Middle and Amy Maffei. Woodland Middle and Pat Boyd. At the high school level, Franklin High and Willie Dickerson. Independence High and Nikki Patton. Nolensville High and Bill Harlan. Page High and Shane Pantal. And Ravenwood High and Pam Vaden. So, folks, we're going to really try to get a group picture, but I need y'all like in four lines or something. Are y'all leaving? Get in there, Jason. So y'all are going to have to squish over. Let's cooperate and be nice. And so let Amanda Fuller up front and let Jill up front. I mean, I'm just going to say, we will never see. Y'all know this routine. Let's get on in here, y'all. Seriously, about 4 lines. No kidding. I'm not kidding you. Whatever y'all need. Good. The poll is not cooperating. I tell you what, turn that way, everybody, for them, toward John and Tori and everybody. This is why we did it different this year. Okay, and now y'all turn toward me. Okay. Oh, what fun this is. Okay, you ready? Oh, yeah. Okay, you never take a picture with this many people in it and hope to actually see who's in the picture, but we're going to give her a shot. Yeah? Okay. All right, congratulations, everybody. Mr. Golden, once everyone gets seated, we have 2 more awards.
Okay, great. And while we're waiting, Mr. Chair, I just want to let everyone know that we had actually taken pictures with the principals and some of their faculty and staff earlier in the day to celebrate all those. The numbers are just getting so overwhelming. It's a great problem to have.
It is a great problem to have. And last but certainly not least, is the communications department. And that team won the National Public Relations Association Golden Achievement Award for the Just Drive campaign. And also, we won another national award for our It's Yellow for a Reason. So very proud of our communications team and working with Transportation Department and our School Safety Department and the Sheriff's Department and others. So congratulations to everybody.
Thank you, Carol. Mr. Chair, the final thing I wanted to mention is, as many of you know, as school gets started, our numbers tend to fluctuate and get very unpredictable the first few days of school. We usually base our projections on 4 weeks out from school. So at next month's board meeting, I will give you our numbers based on how we budget on an annual basis. But right now, as of today, the actual attended student number is 41,355, which is 119 below what we were projecting 4 weeks from the start of school. So from a numbers perspective, we are pretty tight on our projection, and we expect, of course, it to grow just a little bit as we progress the next few weeks, especially as families move in from the Northeast, where many schools start at or about Labor Day. So with that, Mr. Chair, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Golden, his report? Okay, I see none. In the board chairman's report, before I get into what I wanted to report on, I think we need to give Lee Webb and Denise Goodwin a big round of applause for their part in making our school so awesome. Do you think our principals need to go now so they can get ready for school tomorrow? Because they're probably just hanging around because they're being kind and
Mr. Chair,
nice.
I'm not going to make them stay. You all, if you feel free to leave. I know all the students made it home off the bus. I do know that. So
It's time for my report and everybody's leaving, Jay. All right, thank you all for being here this evening and congratulations. All right, on the board chairman's report, the only thing I have is that our retreat is scheduled for August 28th at 4:30 at our new EIC facility. If you haven't had a chance to see it yet, it is absolutely gorgeous and awesome. And I thought I'd give everybody a chance to go take a look at it and see how nice it is and see how it functions with the meeting. So that was the only thing I wanted to remind everybody of. It starts at 4:30. And we have the agenda put together as far as the items going to be discussed, and Jason and I met on that again today, and we'll be sending it out tomorrow to you, so you'll have it in plenty of time to review it before the meeting. Anyone have any questions for me? Okay, see, now on the next item is the unfinished business, approval of the $10 million capital request for the 2019-2020 budget process. Mr. Golden.
thank you, Mr. Chair. As you, as board members know, the County Commission reduced our annual capital budget request from a little over $13.2 million to $10 million even. We presented that cut to you, and some of you asked for some additional detail. Leslie Holman gave you an additional column in the spreadsheet to try to help you triangulate those reductions. The reality is that both maintenance, technology, with a little bit of help from our safety departments, prioritized our items and made those cuts. It's not something that we want to do long term, but it is something that is our reality. So because of that, we do recommend your approval.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion on this item for the capital outlay funds? We have a motion from Ms. Emerson. Anyone like to second that motion? Mr. Cash seconds it. Any discussion? Okay, I see none. You have the director's recommendation. If you go ahead then and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. We're on to new business now, the 2019-2020 school board budget. The first item is General Purpose School Fund Amendment, Carry Forward Reserves. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an annual item that we submit to you to carry forward our reserves, and you can see that in the memo. We do recommend approval.
Anyone like to make a motion for this one? We have a motion from Mr. Wimberly. Anyone like to second it? And we have a second from Mr. Fiskus. Any discussion on this first item? Okay, I see none. You have the superintendent's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next one is General Purpose School Fund Amendment, United Way. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is money received from United Way, and we recommend your approval to thank United Way for their gift and accept it.
I'd like to make a motion on this one. We have a motion from Ms. Cleveland. Second. We have a second from Ms. Durham. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, I see none. You have the director's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is General Purpose School Fund Amendment, Additional Pre-K Classroom. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The state awarded us a little bit more money than we anticipated for our pre-K program, and we're asking that you accept that so that we can actually add one more pre-K classroom. And I did want to make sure we clearly distinguish between pre-K and EC, which is another line item later on this agenda. The EC is early childhood for students with disabilities plus peers. The pre-K program is different for the younger grades. We do recommend approval.
Anyone like to make a motion for this one? We have a motion from Mr. Cash. We have a second from Ms. Durham. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, I see none. Go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next one is General Purpose School Fund Amendment, Transition Grant. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is another request that you approve our receiving money for a transition grant we received last year. And you can see from the budget memo that it's for October through September, and that's why it's coming at this time of year. So we do recommend approval that we receive that money as well.
Would anyone like to make a motion on this one? We have a motion from Ms. Garrett. We have a second from Ms. Cleveland. Any further discussion? Okay, I see none. Go ahead and record your votes then, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is General Purpose School Fund Amendment for Safe Schools Grant. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is another receiving approval that we're asking for your approval on, the Safe Schools Grant. And I mentioned at the work session, I want to specify that this particular grant is designed for capital improvements to the schools to improve our safety. And I mentioned to you that we have a number of capital improvements on our list and our plans for safety, one of which is retrofitting some of our older buildings to improve the safety entrances and some additional items for our buildings. So we do recommend approval.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? Ms. Emerson's making a motion. Like to second. Ms. Durham with a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Welsh.
Mr. Golden, I know one of the things we're losing, among several things we're losing with the 25% reduction that we received in our capital budget was safety cameras in the
correct.
schools. Will this budget money allow us to replace some of the safety cameras that we weren't able to install because of those cuts, or will we just simply be missing those?
Short answer is we'll be missing them. This from a funding priority, the judgment that we made in consultation with local law enforcement and our safety folks is that the actual physical facility needs first priority.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an example of a cut having an impact with our cameras. We have cameras in every one of our buildings. we try to do two things with our camera funding. One, increase the locations of the cameras so that there's a better scope, because the reality is you can't ever have enough cameras to cover every imaginable
Sure.
spot in the building. And then second, to replace older cameras. And so largely, we're going to squeeze out, try to squeeze out some extra time with some of our older cameras.
Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Golden, when we put in portables, do we typically order security cameras for the portables?
Generally speaking, for the portables, we do not. We actually rarely have a portable in a classroom. We do reevaluate the exterior facilities to establish cameras so that we do have a broader scope of coverage. We also encourage and plan for our SROs to move about in an irregular pattern so that they're outside more. There are some additional security measures as well. But physically inside the portables, no. But we do increase the scope of the coverages outside.
So I'm not thinking about inside, I'm thinking more exit and entrance points to the portables and the doors where the students and the faculty would leave the main building and get to the portables. So we don't have any visibility on, since portables are kind of, in most cases, not fenced in, or they're not part of the natural perimeter of the school.
We do have increased visibility. The reality is some of our exterior facilities, it varies a little bit. What I would like to do, if I could, is get Mr. Fletcher to send you all a memo with some details about the changes we made related to that exterior.
So and thank you. I would find that of value. I guess my other thought is we're talking about security and what we're applying it for. I'm assuming that Mr. Fletcher in the office has somewhat of a larger project plan around what the entire district needs to get us where they think we should be for security. And I would be curious to see that from a prioritization standpoint, and I guess maybe a number. What is the dollar number that we need to get the security of all schools, all buses, whatever we might have, to where Fletch would want us to be?
That's a good request. I will say we can get you some numbers for what it would take to reach his short-term goals. The reality is every year there's a reevaluation. The one easy example that we've already talked about is years ago when buildings were constructed, there wasn't a thought from a security standpoint to have a double entrance, that somebody can come into an atrium area and then be let in when there's visibility from the office. So some of our older schools, you actually step immediately into a main hallway. And so that's one example that happened over the course of decades. So this will be, no matter what we fund, an ongoing issue, but we can get you something that will achieve full-blown goals rather than a piecemeal. We'll work on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion, a second, and a recommendation. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes then, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is the Education Capital Project Funds for Sunset Sidewalk. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As many of you know, the town of Nolensville does a great job on planning for walkability. And they have, after a consultation with both Mr. Fortney and Mr. Samuels, worked out a plan and a project to build sidewalks between Britton Downs and Sunset Elementary. And they've asked that we accept this money for us to actually do the work. So we do recommend your approval.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? I'll make a motion on this one.
Okay.
And second from Ms. Emerson. Thank you. Any further discussion? I see none. Then if you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is General Purpose School Budget Resolution, additional EC classrooms. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Early Childhood Program is a program that we serve every student who comes. as opposed to the pre-K program where we serve as much as we can afford. And so this is a necessary increase based on increased enrollment. And we do this through a program which is called Child Find, so that we identify students between the ages of 3 to 5 who have disabilities who need the service. And again, we make sure that we have peers with them as they start their education at age 3. We recommend approval.
Motion from Ms. Emerson? And we have a second from Ms. Cleveland. Anyone have any discussion on this one? Any comments? Okay, we have the superintendent's recommendation. Go ahead and record your vote then, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next one is General Purpose School Board Resolution, Intent to Fund Central Middle School. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the second substantial funding request to get the Central Middle School built. We've bid it out. Those of you who've driven by on Henpeck Lane see that there's already a lot of work out there. There's block already on site as of Sunday as I drove by. So the schedule is very aggressive so that we can have it open this fall. The contractor bid it to that date, and we have a good bid, and we ask for your approval for us to go to the commission for the remaining funding to complete that construction. We recommend approval.
I'd like to make a motion for this one. Mr. Hall makes a motion. Anyone like to second it? Mr. Cash seconds the motion. Does anyone have any further questions or comments on this proposed middle school? Okay, I see none. You have the director's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Oh, Dan,
I'm sorry.
Dan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it up there. Mr. Cash, sorry.
Sorry about that. Couldn't find my button here. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone involved in this middle school. It's taken a lot of years and a lot of people putting a lot of effort forward. The county, the city of Franklin, just everyone in general in the school system. So I just really appreciate this, and I know the people in the area are just loving it. So thank you.
And Mr. Chair, Mr. Cash now triggered me needing to make one more comment. When this school opens, it's going to have a substantial impact on travel time for parents of middle school students that we've been struggling with for years. So I'm very excited about just the logistics that are going to relieve a lot of parent stress, especially.
Thank you.
They ride the bus. I'm going to add that.
What'd you say? Jason, we didn't hear you. What'd you say? What'd you say? We didn't quite hear that, Jason. So ride the bus. All right, we have the motion and a second and the superintendent's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
All right, thank you. Our next item is board policies on first reading. We have a group of policies that the policy committee reviewed. You saw them at the work session. Can we take these all as one vote on the first reading ones?
On the first, on the one, on the B1, correct.
On the B1, the first reading on the B1 items. There's quite a few policies there. Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Osbrooks has asked that we break up the policies into 3 particular votes. One is for first reading, the second is for an editorial change, and the third is for some deletions. As you and the board, and maybe not everybody in the audience knows, we've been going through a process of reviewing every one of our policies with help from the TSBA, and this is the next step in that. The first few policies are necessary for law changes, but when you get into the later policies in this particular agenda item, it is some alterations that we propose be made to improve the parameters under which we live. So we recommend approval to item B1.
Anyone like to make a motion for item B1? We have a motion from our committee chair, Ms. Garrett. Anyone like to second that? We have a second from Mr. Welch. Thank you. Any further discussion on these policies? Okay, I see none. You have the director's recommendation. If you'd record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is B2. It is 1.703, school attendance area zoning and non-resident students, and editorial change. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is another recommendation that comes out of Policy Committee for an editorial change, which is a one vote. We recommend approval.
I'd like to make a motion on this one. We have a motion from Mr. Cash. I'd like to second it. We have a second from Mr. Hall. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, I see none. We have the director's recommendation. If you'd record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Okay, our next item is Policy 3.2011, Fire Prevention, 3.202, Emergency Drills, 3.2013, Bomb Threat Procedures, and the deletion of those particular policies. Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are not deleting fire prevention, emergency drills, or bomb threats. We are deleting those policies because our proposal is to incorporate those into more comprehensive policies. Staff recommends approval.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? We have a motion from Ms. Durham, and we have a second from Mr. Fiskus. Any further comments, questions, discussion? Okay, I see none. We have the director's recommendation. If you could record your votes, please.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Board members, I have one item left on the agenda. It's called adjournment. Is everybody okay with the adjournment of the meeting? We have completed it, so I thank you all very much for being here, and congratulations on your first official meeting. This meeting is adjourned.